Oscar De La Hoya, the Golden Boy, born Montebello, California, and a resident of LA, was 5'10.5" with a 73-inch reach. Known as the Golden Boy because he won a gold medal in the Olympics, Oscar De La Hoya began his career back in 1992, facing Lamar Williams, who he knocked out in the first round of a six-rounder. Because of his pedigree, he went on to face Jeff Mayweather, March 13, 1993. Oscar De La Hoya used a high guard stance. Having a long reach and range, he would use his incredibly effective jab on his opponents. He would mix his jabs with hooks to the body and to the head, as well as straight rights and overhand rights. Oscar was most effective against his opponents, landing his left hook. In his bout against Jeff Mayweather, he was able to knock him out in the fourth round of an eighth-rounder, landing a left hook. Other notable names that he faced were Jimmy Bredhau, who was the WBO World Super Featherweight Champion, March 5, 1994. He was able to dominate Jimmy Bredhau, making him retire at the end of the 10th round. Bredhau was also an undefeated fighter at the time he faced Oscar De La Hoya. He was able to defend his title one more time before moving up in weight to face Jorge Paez, July 29, 1994. They were both vying for the vacant WBO World Lightweight title. In that fight, Oscar De La Hoya was able to knock out Paez in the second round of a 12-rounder. He would go on to defend his lightweight title 3 more times. In those 3 times, he faced John Molina, February 18, 1995, and successfully won that fight by unanimous decision. It was a somewhat ugly affair. He then went on to unify against Rafael Ruelas, May 6, 1995. In that fight, he was able to knock out Ruelas in the second round. Later that year, September 9, 1995, Oscar De La Hoya would go up against the Mexican legend, Genaro Hernandez, who was undefeated in 33 fights, moving up from super featherweight to fight him. The fight was evenly contested until the 6th round, where Oscar De La Hoya was able to land some straight rights on Genaro Hernandez. Hernandez called the end to the bout at the end of the 6th round. On defeating that legend, he went on December that year to face Jesse James Leija in his 5th defense of his WBO World Lightweight title. He was able to retire Jesse James Leija in the second round of their 12-rounder. 2 fights later, he would face the Mexican legend Julio Cesar Chavez, June 7, 1996, for the WBC World Super Lightweight title. He would end up knocking out Chavez in the 4th round of that 12-rounder, ending his unbeaten winning streak. He would go on to defend his title against Pernell Whitaker, April 12, 1997. A very skilled fighter, Pernell Whitaker posed many challenges to Oscar De La Hoya. In the end, he got a unanimous decision against Pernell Whitaker, although Whitaker dropped him. Having beaten Pernell Whitaker at welterweight, Oscar De La Hoya faced Hector Camacho. Hector Camacho had knocked out Sugar Ray Leonard 2 years before. In the end, Oscar De La Hoya dominated Hector Camacho and all but stopping him in that fight. And then, February 13, 1999, he would face Ike Corte in one of the most memorable matches in boxing. An action-packed fight, he was able to drop Corte in the 12th and final round and almost finish him in that final round. He would go on later that year, May 22nd, 1999, to face Obar Kar, who had only 2 losses in his 51 fights. He would go on to knock out Obar Kar in the 11th round of the 12th rounder in what was a legendary tactical and action-packed fight. In his 3rd fight in the same year, he would face Felix Trinidad, the Puerto Rican boxer-puncher who was undefeated, September 18th, 1999. In that fight, Oscar outboxed Felix Trinidad, but was unable to get the decision against him. He would then face Darryl Corley, February 26, 2000, and knock him out in the 7th round to get the vacant IBA welterweight title. He would then go on to face Shane Mosley, June 17th of that year, who was undefeated at the time, and lose by split decision to him in a unification bout for the WBC and IBA welterweight titles. He would go on to face another legend, Arturo Gatti. He would defeat Arturo Gatti by technical knockout in the 5th round of a 12th rounder. He would move up in weight to super welterweight, defeating Javier Castillejo for the WBC World Super Welterweight title. He would go on the following year to face Fernando Vargas, September 14, 2002. Fernando Vargas was a feared Mexican fighter. Great boxing skill and yet an attacking offensive nature. It was thought that Vargas, a natural super welterweight, would defeat Oscar De La Hoya. It was a unification bout for the WBC, WBA, and IBA World Super Welterweight titles. In the end, Oscar De La Hoya ended up stopping Fernando Vargas. He would go on to defend against Luis Ramon Campos, knocking him out in the 7th, and then rematch Shane Mosley at super welterweight. He would move up in weight 1 more weight class to face Felix Sturm, and he won the WBO World Middleweight title, having world championships in 6 weight divisions. After his win, he would go up against the legend Bernard Hopkins, September 18th, 2004, in a unification bout to unify the WBA, WBC, IBF, and WBO world titles at middleweight. In that fight, he was being very competitive until Bernard Hopkins hit him with a left liver shot, in which he could not recover, and the fight was stopped by KO in the 9th round. He would go on to move back down to super welterweight and face Ricardo Mayorga, the tough, rugged Nicaraguan, May 6, 2006. The fight was one in which Mayorga threatened to knock out Oscar De La Hoya. However, Mayorga was knocked down in the very first round by a left hook, and then in the 6th, Oscar De La Hoya caught him again with a left hook and ended up stopping him in the 6th round. Having such a sensational win against Ricardo Mayorga, Oscar De La Hoya then faced Floyd Mayweather Jr. May 5th, 2007 for the WBC World Super Welterweight title. In that fight, he was able to be somewhat competitive early on with his jab, but as the fight progressed, Mayweather dominated. However, on the judges' scorecards, he lost by split decision. He would go on to fight Steve Forbes in preparation for a rematch with Floyd Mayweather. May 3rd, 2008. He was given an offer to fight Manny Pacquiao. December 6, 2008. In that fight, Oscar De La Hoya came down to welterweight, and he was badly beaten by Manny Pacquiao, having to retire in the 8th round. And that brought Oscar De La Hoya to the end of a lustrous career, where he fought just about every single legend in his era. The Golden Boy has entered into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. A living legend. You guys have a great day.